There are many different factors that we need to consider as an assessor when planning our very own assessments. One of the key factors, of course, is the location and also the resources that we have available. Within many organisations and establishments, you might be very lucky and have, of course, a range of different training rooms, resources available to conduct your assessments. However, you might have to, of course, let your colleagues know what time your assessments are, what resources that you need well in advance, because of course they might be perhaps sharing resources, there might be a shortage of sorts of training rooms and where you are going to conduct your assessment. So letting your colleagues know, of course, is very important. So of course, we need to be mindful of room bookings, what resources we have available, the locations of these resources as well. And are other staff aware of the assessment taking place? It might be that you need to put signs outside of the assessment so that it's not going to be distracting for learners. Perhaps if it's a noisy environment and your learners do need to be quiet in order to concentrate. So simply letting your colleagues know that an assessment is taking place, that is very good practice. Furthermore, we need to plan the time, the date, the duration of the assessment, and of course, if there is any extra time and support for the learner, of course, very important, okay? So through the initial assessment stage, we can find out whether or not a learner does require any extra time or support available. But once again, my advice is to give yourself plenty of time for the assessment. Of course, you do have to factor in time of any questions with the learner and also setting up time as well. So do be quite flexible with the time that you have available. Furthermore, specific learner needs and any support required. So furthermore, we are just mindful about how we can support our individual learners. Okay, so hopefully a robust initial assessment has been done, but it's good practice, of course, to speak to the learner informally on the day, ask them how they're feeling, if there's anything that you can do in terms of support that you can help them with, and perhaps we can see how can we adapt assessments to support the learner needs, hopefully once again prior to the assessment taking place, so you're not flustered on the spot. Okay, so ideally the assessment has been catered for to help the learner if they have any additional needs well in advance. Furthermore, recording assessment processes and decisions. Okay, so in other words here, we're thinking, has the assessor considered how the assessment will be recorded and also stored as well? So you as the assessor just need to be confident about the next step after the assessment's taken place. Who do we need to inform? Where the paperwork is going to be stored, for example. Just what are the next steps within the process? It could also be how long do you have to provide learners with feedback? Is there anything that you need to perhaps mention to the learner after the assessment has taken place? And finally, feedback to learner. Okay, so as we know, ideally you're going to give this to your learner straight away, okay, after the assessment has taken place. But we need to perhaps factor in where we're going to give that feedback to the learner. It could of course be in a private room. Is there one available, of course? And also, how will the learner receive feedback after the assessment, of course? So it could be perhaps typed feedback. When is that going to be sent to the learner? And is there sort of a time limit on that? When's the best practice? When's the best time to give that type feedback as well? So we have a range of different factors that we need to think about when planning assessments. For this criteria, we would like for you just to summarise each of the points mentioned there as well. And of course, you can include current or future assessing examples, just thinking about all of those factors you need to consider when planning your very own assessment.